This video is for Nova Online Math 161, and we're reviewing for the final exam and the topic of graphing piecewise function. So we're graphing f of x equals negative x squared plus 2 for x is smaller than 0, x less than 0, and we're going to graph x plus 3 for x values greater than or equal to 0. So we got two pieces that we will graph in the same graph paper. So let me make xy axis, okay? And I will start by graphing the first one, the top one that I highlighted in red, okay? That's a quadratic, we see. Negative x squared plus 2. And using the transformation, we know this graph has been shifted up 2 units, okay? But let's plug in some points so that we can, let's plug in some x values so that we can get the y values to plot some points. I am not really allowed to use x equals 0. You see why, right? It says x is less than 0, strictly less than 0. But I'm telling you to still plug in 0. Go ahead and plug in 0 for both the top and the bottom. Those boundary points, you're just going to be using different circle types, okay? For the graph, the quadratic, for that red circled one, you are going to use an open circle. Okay, why? Because they said x has to be smaller than 0, can't be equal to 0. For the second part, x is greater than or equal to 0, we will use the closed circle. But you must plug in 0, this boundary point 0, into both the top and the bottom piece of this piecewise function. Okay, so I'll start by plugging in 0. Okay, if 0 goes in right there, we're going to get negative times 0 squared plus 2. That is 2. So I will plot an open circle at 0, 2. Okay? And I'm plotting an open circle because this inequality just said x is less than 0. Okay? Give me another number that is smaller than 0. Okay? So that I can have another point. A number that is smaller than 0. I can plug in negative 1, right? So if I plug in negative 1 into that quadratic, I will get negative times negative 1 squared plus 2. Ooh, gotta be careful. This is negative times 1 plus 2. And negative 1 plus 2 is positive 1. So I'll be plotting another point at negative 1, 1. But this point will not be an open circle. Just plot a regular dot. Plot a dot at negative 1, 1. We're not using an open circle because negative 1 is less than 0. The only place that you will plot an open circle is at that 0, 2. So I'll show you, I'm gonna graph my quadratic now. So I go 0, 2, go up 2 and plot on big open circle. And the next point that I need is negative 1, 1. So go 1 to the left, go up 1. Now, this is going to be half of a parabola, right? So if you can think about negative x squared plus 2, that's an upside down parabola, right? But when you shift it up and just cut it in half, you're going to have to graph something that looks like this. Okay? So we're just graphing the left half of the graph. Why? Because the domain of that first piece said only go to the left of 0, only graph this for x values smaller than 0. So we're done with the top piece, okay? That half of the parabola is the top piece. Now let's go do this orange piece. And the work is that the function is x plus 3. And they said use this for x values greater than 0. So of course I'm going to plug in the 0 greater than or equal to 0. So if I plug in 0, I will get 3. And as we discussed earlier, we will plot a closed circle at 0, 3. Okay? The domain for the second piece was x is greater than or equal to 0. So I can pick another point that is bigger than 0. Let me pick 1. If I plug in 1 into this function, then I'll get 1 plus 3, and that's 4. So I will plot another point at 1, 4. So these are the 2 points that we need for the second piece. So I will go 0 up 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'll plot a closed circle right there. And the second point I need is 1, 4, 1, 4, and I will connect these dots. And this second piece is a linear function. It's a straight line, diagonal line function that's going up from left to right with a slope of 1. And it's okay if you guys want to use the y equals mx plus b, but when you are graphing your piecewise functions on your exam, make sure to clearly either plot these open and closed circle, or just make sure that your grader can find all the ordered pairs that you plotted so that you can get full credit, okay?